Is UFC 296 going to be the biggest card of the year? Before we get into that, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So, Mark, UFC 296 is stacked from the prelims to the main event. Do you think this has the potential to be one of the best cards of the year?
Everything is just absolutely huge. UFC are fantastic at this. At the end of the year, they always pull something out of the bag. They never just give you a shitty card to end the year with. They give you something fantastic. What better way to end the year than seeing two idle fighters who don't do anything come at main event the full card for the welterweight title?
Well, yeah, that kind of leads me on to my next question. We do have these two very idle fighters with Colby Covington and Leon Edwards, both never overly active. Do you think the momentum of this fight has been kind of drained away because we've been waiting so long for it?
I 100% believe that. At first, well, you've got to look at the timescale of what's happened since these two fighters last had a fight. When Colby last fought was last year against Masvidal. Leon wasn't even the champion. It was still Kamaru Usman. There's been two fights with Leon and Kamaru Usman since then, and Colby's sat there waiting for this title shot. It's almost like the welterweight division can't get going, and you're just like, oh, it feels like a boxing mandatory fight. Although I am looking forward to it, but it's just been too long. I get a little bit bitter, like a child would.
I agree. I am still looking forward to the fight, of course, because it is going to be a fun fight. But I'm not as excited for it as I was before. Like before, I was really pumping for this. I was really excited. I thought, yeah, we're going to have a banger here. But it's just taken so long. Now I'm just like, come on, just get it over with. Just get it done. But it's so tricky, isn't it? Because when we said when Leon first became champion, we kind of said, is he going to hold up this division? Because he was never an active fighter anyway. And it feels like he probably is going to hold it up, really. And it's a real shame. But Colby's going to hold things up as well. Like if Colby becomes champion, I mean, is he going to fight next year? I doubt it. Like that's the thing. It's like, where does that go, right?
It's such a tough situation, but I think that's exactly right in what you were saying there with Colby. You just can't picture him being an active champion, can you? You can picture any new and up-and-coming contenders. Let's call a name out. Garry, for example. You can imagine him, no, I don't fight bums. I'm not fighting this second division guy. You don't deserve it. Or like, what are you talking about, Colby? You don't deserve this title shot.
I would love that, though. I love it. I love those types of
fan of Colby when he fights.
Yeah.
Because that's it's not just the fight, it's the persona, it's his character, everything. But
yeah.
Hell, I'm like I say, I'm spitting my dummy firmly out. I am throwing my toys out of the pram. I'm a spoilt fan, and I want my fights, and I want them active, and I want them regular, Dwayne.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why you've got people like, say like Volk and Izzy and Sean Strickland who fight 3-4 times a year. They're constantly going at it. And, I don't think people need to be that active, but at least twice a year. I really want to see champions fighting twice a year. But with Colby, I do kind of get why he didn't take a fight, though, because, again, it's completely different because, we're looking at it from a fan perspective, so it doesn't matter to us. We just want the fights. But from Colby's point of view, why would he risk it? Why would he go, right, I'll go fight Bilal while I wait for Leon to make his mind up, and I'll go fight Gilbert Burns when he knows, well, I've got a title shot, so I'm just going to sit on my ass. It's like, why would you risk it, right? I do get that.
The only thing that I will sort of side with Colby's mindset on this is Masvidal at the time of the Colby fight was still quite a big name.
Yes.
He hadn't fought Gilbert Burns yet. There were still the diehard fans who thought Masvidal was still this complete, well-rounded knockout machine. Let's face it, Dwayne, he's a brawler, and it would have done well in the early 2000s in UFC, but this is 2023, and the game has changed so much. You've got to understand that Masvidal still was a big deal at the time, but I don't think you can ride that lightning into nearly 2 years later. I don't care who you are. We've spoke about this before with a certain famous Irish fighter. I don't believe that fame, Garry is obviously what I'm talking about, obviously, mate. I don't believe that just fame and who you used to be should warrant you a title shot. I just don't think it's right in the interest of fairness all around.
No, but like we've said before, the UFC are interested in booking what's fair. They're interested in what's good at making money. That's all they're focused on, isn't it? Nothing else. And I get it. I do get it because Colby as a champion, if he wins, he's a big, big name now and he'll go even bigger. So I get why they want to do it, but I agree. I don't think you can come off a loss to two title shots, beat Masvidal, and then get a title shot. It didn't overly make sense then, and it certainly doesn't make sense now. But a fight that I'm quite looking forward to, and I always kind of enjoy the flyweight division, is Brandon Royval versus Pantoja. The big problem though with this division is the title gets passed around like a hot potato. And do you think that sort of lack of consistent champion sort of takes away the appeal of this division a little bit?
I think you've just described my mindset to the flyweight division entirely, to be honest. There's a few fighters that I will tune in for. And this might even speak volumes in itself. Obviously, there's Figgy, but he's moved up to bantamweight now. There is Brandon. There's Pantoja, Brandon Royale, Kai Kara France. And this speaks volumes. The guy who beat Kai Kara France a few months ago, I can't even remember his name, Dwain.
Oh, yeah, I can't either. And there's Michael Kapp as well.
With all your casual comments, all you want. I don't care. The division nearly died only 3 years ago. You can't expect everyone to sit there and scorch through and have a look at the division. It nearly died. There was one fight alone that saved it. So we've got to build up around it. Well, it's even doing its job there because I named about 5, even though I forgot one name. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? I'm not invested in the flyweight division, but I do enjoy the fight, especially when it was Michael Kapp versus I can't remember his name. Again, it's the division of people we don't remember who they're called. But it's Charles Oliveira's teammate, and he made his debut, and it was a banger of a fight. Who was it in between? It was in between some big heavyweights.
It was the Israel Adesanya and Strickland card.
Yes, that was it. Yeah. And that, I mean, the fight alone was just so fun and it's so quick paced. And that's what I like about these fights in this division, because it's so fast and the skill is of the highest level, because you can't just rely on strength. You have to be relying on your technique. And that's why I enjoy it so much. But like we were saying, as an overall division, I don't really care. I'm not bothered who's going to go out with the title here. I just want to see a banging fight. And it's weird. I almost feel like Dana doesn't care about this division either, because Brandon Royval, is that what you say his name? He was on the early prelims just a few months ago, and now he's coming in a pay-per-view. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Why aren't you pushing these guys more, make them bigger names, and then get us invested, right? It makes sense to do that.
It's great. I mean, the thing is with that kind of division, when they are that empty, if you will, what you're one fight away from the title shot, it could work in your advantage. You're one fight away from being a champion and greatness, and obviously becoming with the champion becomes a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah.
So you can use it to your advantage whilst it's a bit of a dead division. But I'm not taking anything away from the fighters, because, like you said, it has the ability to be one of the most, if not the most exciting division in the UFC. They're so quick, so fast paced. Sometimes it feels like they don't have much power, but you don't tune in for the UFC just for knockouts alone. It's not the early 90s anymore. You've got to watch.
Sometimes I do.
We'll get into that a little bit later.
A little bit. So we also have Shavkat facing Wonderboy. I feel sorry for Wonderboy. I'm not quite sure why he's taking this fight. With sort of Shavkat's aggressive wrestling, do you think that Wonderboy's even got a chance in this fight, or do you think that's just gonna get run through?
Just before I get into that, the card is that good. UFC 296 is that good. I actually forgot that we've got Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Stephen Thompson. But I think if you look at the facts, Shavkat's up and coming. He's undefeated. He's such a monster everywhere. Stephen Thompson, fantastic kickboxer, stand and bang. But do you think Shavkat's really just going to stand there in front of a world-class kickboxer? Stephen Thompson's 40 odd, but age, he's strange. He's like, what do you call him? Benjamin Button. He gets better with age, does Stephen Thompson.
Yeah, he really does, doesn't he?
You really can't sort of say that time is against him, because he puts on a clinic, unless he's against the likes of Gilbert Burns and potentially Shavkat Rakhmonov.
That's the issue, isn't it? Shavkat is not going to just stand and try and trade with Wonderboy. He's going to make this a grappling match as much as possible. And even though Shavkat did dominate Jeff Neal and absolutely battered him, Jeff Neal actually gave Shavkat a lot more trouble on the feet than I expected him to. I was like, he's catching him here a couple times. He's getting off a few combos. if he leaves himself open, maybe Wonderboy could pull something off, but I doubt it. I think he's probably going to get choked out in the first. I hope not, though, because I'm a massive fan of Wonderboy. But it's difficult, though, isn't it, with sort of, young up-and-comers fighting veterans, because you want the veterans to win a lot of the time, but it almost doesn't do anything for anyone. Like, if Wonderboy beats Shavkat, does he get a title shot off that? Probably not. And then it just ruins all of Shavkat's momentum, doesn't it? So it's almost like, I don't know who to root for, really. Does that make sense?
I understand exactly what you mean, yeah. And just touching back on that Shavkat and Jeff Neal fight, that was a banger. And Jeff Neal did have Shavkat in a lot of trouble, but there's clues in the name, Jeff Hands of Steel Neal.
Yeah.
I think that is probably a testament just to the welterweight division isn't as dead as what we've probably said it is before. You know, there are some killers in there, definitely. And Stephen Thompson is still well and truly up there. And exactly like you say, does Shavkat deserve a title shot? Not everything's about the title, to be fair, but does Shavkat deserve it after beating Stephen Thompson, who's a little bit aged? Not really. Does Stephen Thompson deserve it after defeating Shavkat? Probably a little bit more, if we're being totally honest.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? If you're putting a monster like that in front of Wonderboy, and with such a big name behind him, it almost feels like, give Wonderboy a shot, right? If he can beat a monster like Shavkat, I'd love to see him move up and go for a title one last time before he retires. I'd love to see it. But sort of talking of older veterans going against a young up-and-comer, we've got Tony Ferguson versus Paddy Pimblett. This feels like a lamb to the slaughter, or for Tony's case, old mutton to the slaughter. I just don't see why they're making this fight. Do you think this is a free win for Paddy?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, 100%. It's got to be.
There's your answer. There's your answer, Dwain. It feels very much like it's not even a passing of the torch. It's a mugging, a beating, and I'll snatch the torch.
It does feel like that, doesn't it?
I'm taking this torch, old man. Don't matter. I'm a big fan of David Goggins. You know I am. And I've seen memes that say, what the hell is Paddy going to do when Tony Ferguson comes out in the third round, face like a Yorkshire pudding, shouting, they don't know me, son. What do you mean? What's he going to do? He's going to batter the shite out of him like he has been doing for the previous 2 rounds. I don't think he'll finish Tony, but I think it's going to be a dominating decision for Paddy. It don't make any sense, this fight, though. I don't think. I still don't.
I don't either. I think Paddy is just going to make this a grappling match as much as possible. And we've seen the flaws with Tony's grappling. He's not that high-level grappler, and he certainly isn't anymore. Like, I don't know what's happened. It's not even just a case of physicality. Like, yeah, it's great like you're training with David Goggins, but your physical abilities weren't really the issue, Tony. It's your fight IQ's just diminished completely. You know, he just put his head under Nate Diaz's arms for free and said, yeah, go on, choke me out. And the same happened with Bobby Green as well. So I think Paddy's going to get an early submission, you know. I think second round, I think he's going to tap him out.
It's one of those, maybe I think that Ferguson's got Goggins maybe to try and gain that mental edge back, that fight IQ, that dog mentality that I won't go into a David Goggins appreciation video here, but you understand what I mean. Maybe that's just a lot of people lose confidence, don't they? I mean, he must have done hell. He's on a 6-fight losing skid?
Something
to
like
be honest,
that.
what I will say though is Paddy is extremely respectful about his situation as well. He said, you know, I know what's happened in the past few years, but he's still El Kakui, he's still Tony Ferguson. It's a huge name for Paddy to knock off, but he hasn't won him any fans because people have turned their back on Paddy quickly after the Jared Gordon fight.
Yeah, they turned on him so fast, and I kind of get it a little bit. Like, you know, it was a lackluster performance, and the way he was talking afterwards, as though he dominated him. It's like, for me, I've always said it before: when you're building the fight, talk as much crap as possible. After the fight, here's your chance to be humble and be honest. And I feel like that's where the greats really do that. You know, these big promo guys. It's like, look at Shale after, you know, he's been beaten and stuff. Yeah, in the cage, he'll make some good stuff. But like afterwards, like, you know, when he beat Bisping and that, and he was like, well, you know, Bisping nearly had me out and stuff. I don't think he realized how much he hurt me. Yeah. And you get to see almost the true versions of themselves in some ways. And I kind of wish Paddy had done that as well. You know, just sort of move forward a little bit. Let us see who you really are. And sort of talking of, oh, sorry, carry on.
I was just sorry to cut you off there. I was just
Yeah,
about
it's
to say,
fine.
talking of Michael Bisping, he mentioned something about Paddy after the Jared Gordon fight. He says if he didn't have this big fight of the night or what, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other, and all that. If he was kind of humble after that, it might have done him so many more favors. You know, and not you
100%.
can't go out there and you can't exactly say I 100% lost that fight because then you're like, well,
No.
you're not doing yourself any favors. But just in the sense that you can't. Oh, I think he handled it all wrong.
Yeah,
And
he did.
Bisping did as well.
100%.
And obviously, he's a lot more articulate than I am, even though he got punched in the face for a living. But I still can't string a sentence together as poor as what
As
was you
this
going to say
podcast.
before I cut you off?
Well, just sort of talking about how fans can turn so quickly against you. We've got Ian Garry on this card as well, and he's fighting Vicente Luque. And I know for a fact that this is going to be a really, really fun fight. But with Ian Garry, do you think he's kind of shot himself in the foot before his career sort of even kicked off? It feels like he's going to lose a lot of fans real quickly.
I think in the Neil Magny fight, the lead up to that, he didn't do himself any favors. I'm not going to go into what he was saying and everything because it's it's just empty shouting, isn't it? It's shouting into the void. But
Yeah.
he didn't do himself any favors. He looked like a dick in that press conference after the fight, in between rounds. Flipping him the bird, all this kind of stuff. It was too much for what it was. What it was. We ended up feeling sorry for Neil Magny in that fight. He had nothing for him, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
like
he
bullying
did,
the
didn't it?
kid and then kicking him in the head, saying, "And stay down."
It was
'Cause
awful, really, really bad, wasn't it?
no, I mean before that, look, Ian Garry, he won me over as a fan because you look at his was it his debut or the one after where he nearly got finished, he got dropped and everything.
Yeah.
But then he took med right adjustments, came in, and I'm like, actually, you know what? He could be a real underdog, a real killer. I think I even named him as a dark horse to watch out for in the welterweight division for 2024.
Yeah.
To potentially leave as champion. It could well happen, welterweight
Yeah,
moves.
definitely.
But lately, I don't think he's done himself any favors. But Vicente Luque will absolutely test him.
Yeah, this is his biggest step up so far, isn't it? This is really right. Can you stand at this level? And we'll have to wait and see. But I'm 100% in agreement with you there. For me, I didn't like Ian Garry when he debuted. It felt like he was trying to be Conor too much. I was like, just try and be yourself, mate. You don't have to say everything Conor's saying. And then he came back. He made some big adjustments. I thought, oh, this guy's great. Exactly the same. And then he just made an idiot of himself. He just looked so poor. He held himself really, really badly, and it just doesn't interest me. And I'm worried that he's kind of going to lose a lot of that momentum that he should be getting because it feels like he could be a big star. But if people don't like you, they're not going to tune in for you. But overall, I'm incredibly excited for UFC 296. But I do think that's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.